What's up, guys? Here we are for the FDL season finale presentation plus the winners finals weekly recap. I am brought here today without my normal co-host Seth. He is getting ready to kick some butt in Charlotte, and El Dentista is putting some kids to bed. But we got a little better. We've got the man himself from Australia, Tetris.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Doing good, man. How are you today?
I am going great. My alarm didn't go off this morning. I was almost late for work, and then work ran overtime. Just the most prepared I've ever been.
Super fun. That's say. We all been there. I'm on vacation next week, so I was in like panic mode for like three
That'd
hours
be
this
nice.
afternoon. No, I'm excited. This worked out kind of perfectly because we've been talking about how we wanted to approach the kind of finale side of things and talk about kind of the stuff you've done every season. So with Seth and El Dentista being out this week and you having the availability, it's perfect. So if you want, why don't we jump into that first?
Yeah. So at the end of every season, I normally like to do two things. I like to do what we have today, and then I also like to do an awards ceremony. But it's my understanding that you guys are going to do the awards ceremony yourselves later, like midway through finals.
Yep, and discussion
Yeah.
was we want to talk with you on some of the awards that you really like, get your opinion, work with you, because we've got some ideas ourselves. But yeah, we want to put something kind of mid finals together, kind of week 5-ish, week 4, kind of keep everyone engaged as much as possible.
Yeah. So the agenda for today of like the finale presentation of the stuff which I am doing is I'm still gonna show off all the 9 bring Pokemon, and in Draft C's case the 8 bring Pokemon. It's just something which I really like to just point out, and I'll get your opinion on some of them as well and see if there's any, like I can have a look through here and see if there's any that I think I'm surprised aren't here. The only award which will come out today is the Most Improved Award, and I'll explain how that works in a bit. We'll do the kills leaderboards, because technically I never posted the finals, like kill board standings, and there's a reason for it, because it's supposed to be here. It's in bold there, small, so we won't go like massively into it, but just like end of season discussion about each of, draft A, B, and C, just anything that caught us, caught by surprise or was just really interesting into us. And then we'll do weekly recap. It's the show you all know and love. You've seen it a million times. Previous week analysis, set of the week, and matchup breakdowns for the future. I will point out that on the title screen there, it did say weekly recap, but worse. I can't use macros, and so there is nothing moving. There is no funny stuff. Sorry for the people watching. This is going to look a lot better in post production than the stream is live currently.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, so if you're all good with it, we can just get started on Draft A's season finale.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Draft A actually had, that's 6 plus 5, that's 11, yeah. They had 11 9 bring Pokemon. And in 9 weeks, that's actually a crazy amount. You see Haruki there's got 2, he's got Garganacl and he's got Volcarona. Obviously Confused Skeledirge is there. Brings Annihilate and Gothitelle. Some of these just make sense to me. Carney's Dragonite there. Electric's obviously going to bring NDD female every week. For me, the Taurus Paldea Fire and Kistal's Persian that's an interesting one that they showed up every week.
So the Persian, based on tier list, will surprise me, but based on what it brings to the team, with its support side of things, doesn't surprise me just because of that quick fake out, and it's got some really good support moves. I think it has U-turn also, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Fake Out, Snarl, U-turn, Icy Wind. It's got Baby Doll Eyes. It's got Chilling Water. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so we ended off, we were talking about Persian, said it's great with support. The other thing I have in my notes, the only thing I'm surprised isn't here, and I guess with 11 9 bring Pokemon, it's fair that only one thing I'm surprised about. Mike's Dondozo isn't here.
Yeah, it's did his other S tier, because he had Tatsuguri, right? So neither of them are here.
Yeah.
So there was 2 weeks at least where he didn't bring at least one of his S tiers, where I feel like a lot of times everyone should bring their S tiers every week, at least one of them.
Yeah.
So Dozo Guri in draft to me is very strong, but it's a lot like the whole Vino Cole in Series 8, in Gen 8 with everything. You have to prep for it, and people are going to prep for it. You know they're going to prep for it, so there's weeks where it's just like you don't bother bringing it because you're like they over-prepped, and you try to counter that. This is a little different with no Dynamax. I think those two together can do a lot of damage, and if you plan a way where you're coming to Game 2 or Game 3 without bringing one of them, you force your opponent to continue to play as if you're going to have Commander out there, and if they're bringing their Hazer or their Clear Smog or whatever, they're going to have to over predict that, and then you play the mind games that way. So yeah, that's very surprising to me.
Fun fact, Mike left his Tatsugiri at home twice. So Tatsugiri only came 7 times, Dondozo came 8.
Nice. Well, I think, and what's funny is I think both of them can stand on their own. Tatsugiri has a very good moveset and can be a good scarfer to do some work and have some speed control, and we know what Dozo can do without a Guri around. It's still a bulky thing.
Oh yeah.
I love seeing that Electric brought Indeedee every week, but I don't love not seeing Armarouge every week, personally.
That's fair. Yeah, that's very fair. I think that I was going to say that in weeks you want to run hard Trick-Room, I'm not sure Armarouge should come. But then like in practice I know that Series 2 is a very different rule set. If it's a very different game to play than Series 1. But in practice for Series 2, back when we did it, Indeedee and Armarouge was such a solid way of like guaranteeing Trick Room. It was so impossible to work around without an open team sheet.
Well, yeah, and they had really great stuff to do with the Indeedee anyways. Like I had 2 Unburden users, having that priority control, so I understand why. But to me, it's just with how good Armarouge is as a just a monster to do damage in the terrain, really feel that thing could have dominated the season. And I think we'll find out when we get to Draft C that it was a kill machine in our
yeah
pod.
Definitely.
All these other ones don't surprise me. I mean, I guess Clodsire could surprise me, but that's okay. I think that thing's so cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think the Clodsire from TDK was more a team mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know from talking to him in like finals from first week that he was thinking about not bringing it, and then went, I've got 5, I may as well just chuck Clodsire on the team.
Nice. That's awesome.
We're going to hear of final placements predicted, and this I want to point this out of what predicted means. At the very, very beginning of the season, I put out a video which it'll be somewhere. I'll link it in the description of this one when it goes out on YouTube. Where I predicted the order in which everyone would come. And I thought it'd be really interesting as a graphic to have this slide here to look at what order did I get them, how close was I, all that sort of stuff. So these are the final placements for Draft A with, the rankings moved up or down to either side of them. Anything in particular stand out to you here?
Look at Kale.
Yeah.
Kale's definitely been one of those players when they play in the seasons that are very unpredictable. They like to... I don't really like using gimmick as the word here. They like to run their weird stuff. Their stuff that you have to prepare for, and if you don't think about this thing can do. They are very well attuned to what their team does. It's just sometimes those things don't work well together. It's crazy to me to think that 5 through 9 was basically separated by a game.
Yeah. I want to stress, I predicted Kale to come last, and he's third. It's insane. The +4 is only there because I didn't know how ZXC and Jordan and Haruki are gonna do. The fun thing I think there is I technically got Electric's placing correct, which is why there's nothing next to her. So
Okay.
I know that she said that she had like a really off season, never really felt like she got going. But technically speaking, this was exactly how every other season has gone for her.
I don't want to speak for her, but the week against Confused, I think, really tilted this season in the wrong direction. Because if you look at the 11 and 12 Mons on this team through free agency and what she has, it's unreal how good of a trick room mode there is, and you have to respect the fast side of it. It's a lot like the draft I compared it to when we talk about it. It's a lot like Seth's draft in Draft C, where the hard trick room mode is very strong and a guarantee if they want it, but you have to respect the fact that Noivern is a ridiculously fast tailwind setter, and they have Mons that take advantage of it. It's just this team was really good.
Yeah. My other thing I'd like to point out is that ZXC showed up on 4 days' notice.
Yep.
He showed up late into the draft. He missed the first rounds of all that sort of stuff. Had to miss out on the S tiers that he really wanted, and then he still got 4.
This was Whis' replacement, correct?
Yeah, and he that's 4th, tied with Kale. If he's a better differential, the only people he loses to are Confused and Carney.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
He missed out on the first 4 picks of draft. That's insane.
Yep. And it's funny, I can do it the other way. 3 through 7 are all separated by a game. One win, you jump from potentially 6th to 3rd. This draft was, aside from confusing Carney kind of running away with it early, it was a very, very competitive draft in the 3 through 10, in all honesty.
Oh yeah, definitely. I did say there was going to be awards with this one, and most improved will just be, who surprised us the most.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, it is going to be, it's TD Kale, as you can see there. Look, I predicted him to come last, and he's 3rd, so there's definitely something there.
Yeah, congratulations. Again, great season. Tough loss last week, which we'll talk about a little bit from winner's side when we get to it. It was one of our featured matches that I talked about, so excited to see what happens this week for you. But yeah, no, this is great. Love seeing it, and looks like we're ready to move on to Draft B. Oh, we are not. We've
not moving on to Draft
boards.
B just yet, unfortunately. It's the Killers leaderboards and the individual ones. The first one here, I think, is actually going to be really interesting. Because we actually have a tie for 3rd place. Dondozo from the London Laxers, which is Mike's, and then Torkoal from the Funky Fungus. Now, Torkoal hasn't been on the kill boards since week 4.
Wow.
Last week, Sylveon was tied for 3rd. But Kistal very, very much so said to me that he was on short notice and kind of built a team which was all Torkoal centered and very nearly won with it. But because of it, I think he put 7 kills in 3 games on
That's
that
awesome.
Torkoal, and gets into 3rd because of it.
That's a move right there. I love it. That's a way to just sneak in the back door right at the end of the season and just jump in there.
In 2nd place, this is kind of going to give away first as well, isn't it? Because we know who was fighting for them. It's Carney's draft on 25. Look, these two fought it out valiantly with, killing their own team consistently. And, the most bloodthirsty, ruthless of them all, Skeledirge, Palday, and Polmut on 27 in 9 weeks.
Does anyone know what the team self-KOs are? Offhand for Skeledirge? Because I feel like they're at 6-7.
Yeah, if Electric's in chat, she might have those details.
Okay.
I'm unsure. All I know is that there was 1 week where, I think it'll be more than 7, because there was a week where Skeledirge technically put 5-6 self-KOs on in a single week. He got it down to a 1v4 and
killed his own stuff. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, the one only had normal type moves, and Skeledirge is a ghost type, and it's like, well, okay. And so then, like, they
Yep.
forfeited, but technically confused, put all 3 self kills
Yep.
on because he was gonna do it.
I remember that. That's right. Because he got all excited in chat.
We'll move on because this one here might be a little bit something people haven't seen before. It's the kills leaderboard with the team. So at the end of last season, people actually said, what about the person, the player who was most bloodthirsty? And so I take the average of your top 3 most kills. And, like, it's hard to put a lot of kills on 3 separate months. Obviously, it is a little bit skewed by if someone has, like, a crazy high number and then 2 low ones.
I mean, it's still an average, and like you said, you're going for bloodthirst, so...
It's kind of what we see here with, Florida Darmanitans, this being Carney. 25 kills, 13 and 5. And if you give me just a moment, I can, because Carney's at the top of this, I can go see. So 25 is the Dragonite. There's 13 kills on a Zoomeril, actually.
I was going to say, I think it's Azu.
Gambit only had 5. Yeah.
He used King Gambit most of the season as a kind of threat you had to respect. And honestly, I just think no one respected Dragonite all season. And it just came in and just picked up extreme speed kills, ice spinner kills. It was redonkulous what it was doing.
We're moving to second. This one's actually interesting.
See, I like this one.
It's the Boston Sceptiles. This is TD Kale for anyone who isn't aware. TD Kale is last in the thing. Yeah, so that 18 is Dragapult. The 16 is Clodsire. And then the 12 is Arcanine.
Okay.
So that there is what I mean by bloodthirst. Like, you can look at, the Florida Darmanitans, the bottom number there is 5. But that's 18, 16, and 12. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then I'm sure he's going to be happy about it, especially that Paulmont is now on screen.
Ugh.
27, 13, and 7. Confused takes. That's 27 for Skeledirge. That is 13 for Paulmont himself. And the 7 kills was on Meowscarada.
Meowscarada being lower surprising with how great of a revenge killer it is.
Oh, God, yeah.
Definitely surprising to see that it did not have a ton.
Before we move on, because I'm fairly certain this is the last slide, Draft A, anything like in particular which is worth, just pointing out? Honestly, I would say we can't forget that Confused went undefeated.
Yeah, that's the big thing. That's the big takeaway is the team was undefeated, and like, not for lack of people really putting in the effort to beat that team. There was a couple weeks where, unfortunately, had some very strong RNG going his way, which that's part of the game. It is what it is. But yeah, to go 9-0, and I think only dropped four games all season, if that.
The standings. 18 and 2.
Yeah, okay, so dropped 2 games all season. It's a phenomenal season, and unfortunately we have to all hear about why it was, even though we know it wasn't Palm.
Oh no, I can only imagine how the Twitch chat's looking right now.
It's Seth and Electric right now, saying boo.
Oh,
but
okay.
I agree with them.
Yeah. We'll move on to Draft B. This is mine, so I can feel like I can talk a little bit. We'll try to keep it short and simple on this one. 9 bring Pokemon. There's actually only 8 of them, which is wild. Like, there's so much here, which I think should have come every week. There's Splatty's Mouse Hold. Fireblitz has his Lycanroc. My big one, I'd like to point out, Jackdaw had 3. Every week was Meowscarada, Kingambit, Armarouge, and then 3 more. Also, Indeedee, I expected to be there. Indeedee only came 4 times.
I will say the exact same thing I said about Draft A. I think those two come every week if you made the point to draft them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're too good not to personally. And I understand the argument that you can make against a specific team and similar. I just think what they do is unbelievable together. I'm happy to see Mousehold came every week. I think that was something Spalletti planned on happening. Was that his first pick? I'm trying to remember.
That was his first pick, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
very, very first one.
I knew, knowing how he is, that pick was pure Splatty. And then his team was built around the fact that he could abuse that thing with other awesome weird techs he likes to use. And then the one that really stands out to me on here more than anything in the world is that Midnight Lycan Rock from Flare Blitz.
Yeah, every week it showed up. My other one is I have down on my notes as Breloom didn't come every week.
Okay. So that's interesting with the Spore and the Priority. It's got pretty good coverage into a lot of things still. Yeah, I'm a little surprised on the Breloom. Lycanroc doesn't upset me to see it here. Rock is a very strong type overall in this gen right now. And I think, I firsthand had to experience what a Midnight Lycanroc rock slot feels like last week. So yeah. I know it hits hard. And I imagine it was just generally valuable every week for him.
On the list of stuff I have here, which didn't show up, which surprised me, there's obviously this Breloom with Flare Blitzes. I had Indeedee with Jackdaw, even though it only came, like I said, 4 times.
Yeah, that's the wild thing.
Myself, the fact that Grimmsnarl isn't there I can see why it would be surprising, but, like, I know personally why I didn't bring it one week, but so, like, the other ones were Shy Guy. For the guy who drafted Hard Trick Room, and his whole thing is he has to set it up. Why did Indeedee Female not come every single week?
Yeah, 100%.
Eldentista didn't bring Murkrow every week.
I can understand that, though. Murkrow has a very specific niche. While this team was a Perish Song team, and frankly, probably would have benefited from Murkrow coming every week just because of the surprisingly robust support sets it has, and the fact that I think Brave Bird hits as hard as a Brave Bird can for most things that aren't just monster flying attackers. So it's like it has a really good moveset to have been valuable every week. It doesn't surprise me. Eldentista is the king of the meme when it comes to team building, and I'm trying to remember the specific. I think it came 8 times, I believe. There was just one week he didn't bring it, and I remember talking about it in chat, and I forget which week it was, but there was a very specific reason why that team was built the way it was, and Murkrow just wasn't good on it. It's the same thing, and going back because I forgot about it. It's the same thing because Electric didn't bring Armor Rouge versus Carney's team because Armor Rouge just got absolutely badonked by everything on that team that wasn't named King Gambit.
Yeah. Well, even King Gambit dunks on it with a dunk.
Yep, with just a sucker punch if he's not terrored right. And so, yeah, I had to go back to our chat mentally from those weeks and think about them.
We'll move in to the placements. This is how I predicted it to go, and I cry looking at the fact that I put myself in 3rd. But everything else there, I also would like to say that Splatty was down there because he had a very, very poor Legends streak.
Yes.
But that was because he was like really, really not invested. And then shortly after I posted the video, he was like, "Hey, just by the way, I'm committing 100% to this." And so I don't think this is very surprising. He goes into 1st. There's actually a ton here to talk about, like a ton.
There's some great ones in here. Start with the bad, finish with the good. Pikachu, man. A staple in the top 3 is my understanding from when they've played in every other season.
Yeah.
I think it's a testament to, one, how you kind of set things up where no one has played anyone before for the most part.
Yeah.
And the fact that if you just look at those top three, don't even put Jack in the equation. Splatty and El Dentista are two of the weirdest builders in the entire 30-person pod. They build the most insane things, and you cannot prepare for them, even if you try to. And I believe the consensus for Draft B was Drops had the best team maybe in the entire draft from preseason.
Drops had the best team in the league.
Yeah,
Drops
so I mean,
was number one out of.
So like I guess from my perspective, knowing what the top three looks like, I'm not surprised as much by the 5th place finish, or even, to be fair, the 9th place finish for you. This is a ridiculous pod at the top with the way the team builders are. And I remember, I think Jack's a pretty interesting team builder. Flare Brits always brings something that is off the wall. I think you're the one who unfortunately got danced on by the bird.
No, the one I got, I was fine with the bird. I made a thumbnail about it. I got crit. Oh yeah, I got crit by the bird, but I was unaware, and so the bird boosts didn't matter. And my big one was that I bought Head Smash Sudowoodo, and it missed twice in a row.
Okay, that's what it was. And then, Shy Guys knew, but they started out strong, and then I think just had a bad run towards the back end.
They won week 1, and then they beat me. That's the other win they have. So it was like win, and then straight losses, and then beat me again, and then straight losses after that.
What's the big thing that kind of sticks out to you here?
Either Drops doing that well, or Lily in 6th.
Yeah, Lily historically has been in the bottom half of the top 10, typically towards the back end.
Not even bottom half. She's every other season when we've had, every other season in 2, 3, and 4. She has, in the short finals, played for Wooden Spoon every single time.
Okay. Well, it's exciting then, right? I mean, that's a testament to their growth as a player. Going 4 and 5 in this pod, it's not an easy task either. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Were you guys team building again this year together, or this season?
Yeah, team building every week. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she had a really good team too, in my opinion. It was definitely a Lily style team with the Pokemon on it. Yeah. So I think comfortability plays a role there, and maybe they just want to take it serious at this point. Was like, look, I'm done being in 9th or 10th. I want to be the best.
Yeah. The award for most improved here, as I mentioned, goes to Drops. Obviously, it is a testament to the team which we gave him, but it's like +5 from where I thought you were going to be. It doesn't matter how good your team is; you have to know how to pilot it, and that's incredible. You want to look at his 3 losses, shall we? It's like you lost to Splatty, and no one can prepare for it. You lost to El Dentista because he bought Feather Dance Murkrow and you had 6 physical attackers. And then you lost to Lily because you bought Belly Drum Slowbro and didn't have it was 6 memes was that team.
Had no respect for Lily. That's exactly what it was. And I'm glad that she stomped him. You gotta show up respect in the person on the other side each week. I can tell you right now, I know one of my losses came from a lack of respect for my opponent, and I'm not happy about it. Because they embarrassed me.
You look at those are your 3 losses. You beat Jack and Kigachu and Omega Dawning at the early on. 2 of those 3 wins, maybe even all 3 of them were week 1, 2, and 3. And so you beat a guy who was a dominant force at the start.
Yep. It's a great season for Drops. I'm really proud of them. I know they were building with Confused and I believe Jordan. And they have a real good kind of team building group they put together that they bounce ideas off of, and then there's a kind of a little collective of us that talk about it as well, where they'll drop the teams in and just get those final touches. And it was a really strong Sand team, no doubt. Drops definitely piloted well, deserves that 2nd place this season.
We'll move on to the kills boards, the individual leaderboards. I honestly forget these, so this is going to be interesting to look at from my end as well. In third place, oh, it's this one. Flare Blitz pulled a U, but he put them together.
Yeah.
It's a tied podium, but there's a single team there. Breloom and Lycanroc both have 20 kills.
Just think if Breloom came every week.
Yeah, it's like you think, like honestly, 40 kills, like 40.
That's awesome.
Like, that's an absurd. It's an absurd number.
Yeah, it's really good. It makes me think a little differently about those two for sure.
Oh god, yeah. Second place, Omega Dawning. It's like I said, I'm fairly certain he was 3-0 in the first 3 weeks, and this Baxcalibur was the reason.
Yeah, that thing's a monster.
I did not expect Bax to be this good. Depending on what the rule set is next season, it might be going up just because it was terrifying.
Oh yeah, base 140 attack? I mean
140, yeah.
Yeah, I mean couple that with it's got priority. It can run loaded dice sets. It has fire immunity. Like, it's a really strong Pokemon, and all it needs is some things built around it. And I think they had a good team, but people just realized what the main offensive threat was, and I think kind of tried to start counter building around that on the Baxcalibur, as the weeks progressed.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain this is a tie. It is, yes. It's Annihilate from Elventista, and it's Hariyama from Shy Guy. And so Shy Guy came last, but won the kills leaderboard.
That's awesome. Hariyama, I love it. It is like top 3 my favorite Pokemon all time. And I think it's one of those S tier mons in draft that you can build around fairly easy. It has all the tools that a perfect S tier draft mon wants. So, not surprised to see it here, and happy to see it kind of reigning supreme next to the Ghost Monkey.
Yeah, and I wonder how many of those Annihilapes 24 are Final Gambit kills, because obviously you take 2 every single time you use that move.
I didn't even think about that. I'm going to ask him and see if he remembers.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Moving to the team one here. I think that the winner here is going to be rather simple to see. But in third place, it's the Texas Torkoals. It's the winner of the kills leaderboard. The 24 is Hariyama, the 16 is Torkoal, and then the 5 is Drifblim.
Okay.
A team with Avalugg and Mudbray and Sawsbuck and Ndidi as well. And Ndidi hits hella hard sometimes. Drifblim has 5 kills, and it's his 3rd highest.
That's interesting. But he definitely leaned hard. Yo, look at this guy.
Sydney Flareblitz, 20, 20, and 9. That 9 is, if you give me a second, that 9 is Oricorio, actually.
That's awesome. I was a big fan of the Oricorio, so I'm glad someone made it work for him.
I think Arnie's going to be upset to hear that, because you forget Flareblitz's S-tier pick was Dragonite.
Yeah, I mean, it's still wild to think that we will see this in Draft C when we get there as well, but the kill leader of this one that tied with the Hariyama, the Annihilate, I have Annihilate, and Annihilapes I don't even think in my top 3, so.
Yeah. Winner here.
What is going on here?
23, 16, 11. 23 is Bax, 16 is Golden Go, 11 is Rotom Wash. Does that make sense, does it not?
Yeah. Not even knowing what the rest of that team is, that makes complete sense. That is... So, I have no respect for Rotom Wash in actual VGC anymore because I ran it in Series 1 and it can't kill anything if it tried, even with Nancy Plot. But come draft, it is an absolute menace. It has great coverage. It has Will-O-Wisp. It can bulk up with a Nasty Plot. It has great bulk itself. It has great typing. So yeah, that's awesome to see that Rotom Wash is getting a little love here.
I'd also like to point out, I like to go an average of top 3. He has a 4th place of 10 as well. Metacam has 10 kills.
Okay, so very heavy into his top 4 for what he was kind of bringing each weekend. you think about those four together in the sense that that's a pretty decent core, like good defensive coverage, physical, very physical, but that is what it is.
Oh yeah. Draft C, this is you.
It is me.
Before we move on, is there anything in Draft B that you thought was worth mentioning?
I think it's worth mentioning that when you think about what Draft B had and who was in it, one, the best draft in the league, on paper, and two of the wildest builders. I love seeing stuff that is just odd taking over and running supreme. So, to me, like my draft B MVP, even though he's in first place, is definitely Splatty from the standpoint that not only did he bring very interesting sets and very interesting team comps each week, I think we would talk about them privately and we would be like, yeah, this is what he's going to do this week. We'd call it and you still couldn't plan for it. It's crazy how well he did. And not to take anything away from El Dentista, because I'm sorry, he drafted Parish Trap and absolutely Parish Trapped the crap out of people and forced them to play a very, very, very difficult game all season.
Yeah.
What's your big takeaway from B?
So, I think that B was the hardest one to be in after you had Tarkington and Gyro leave. Like,
sure, yeah.
With those two, the hardest of all of them. But then those two go, and then you look at Draft C and you've got, in my opinion, the two weirdest builders. You have the best team in the entire thing. I think you've got two of the top 5 best players in the whole league. You've got 2 of them in Gigachu and Jack in there. And they're your top 5, and everyone else is kind of just scrambling about trying to figure out what on earth we're supposed to do to keep up with that level of competition.
I would like to say that I did propose interleague play where each draft took a team of 3 and we played each other to see who reigned supreme with our 3 sets of draft stuff. So I'm still leaving that out to anyone who wants to come at us in Draft C. We're happy to show you why things went the way they did.
Oh yeah. Speaking of why they went the way they did, you guys had a unholy amount of 100% bring Pokemon.
Yeah, there's no messing around.
There's only 8 weeks. It's how many of these guys would have showed up against Gyro, we will never know. There's so it's wild. Gengar's got 3 there. Snowman's got 2. You've got 2. Eevee's got 2. Katie's got 2. It's incredible.
Yeah, so what's interesting to me is Snowman brought his reign every week and played around and played in it and played with it, and it worked well. Gengar came with these 3, and what a couple weeks were the belly drum play with the follow me's, setting terrain to stop with the other priority moves that were going to impact his team. The one that blows my mind is I believe he had the whole Hail team together, and I frankly think Obama Snow is actually really good in draft right now, especially with Terra, kind of how I feel about Magnezone. It takes away their major weaknesses, and you can take advantage of Aurora Veil, Hail, and all these great things. So I'm surprised that didn't come with knowing what Gengar's team was built to be.
In the random draft league I was playing, which fell apart after a few weeks, I was given Abomasnow, and insane. I got it, and I was like, okay, it's all right. I drafted Satitan myself. I'm like, okay, Abomasnow will set up Satitan and it'll just sit there, right? No. This thing came by itself a ton. Aurora Veil was dumb. 100% accurate Blizzards. I ran Specs Blizzards once.
Okay.
Insane.
Yeah, and then you look at Tarkington / Eevee. Those are 2 gimmies every week. I mean, you're crazy not to bring those 2 every week in Gyarados and Eevee, or in Skeledirge. I looked at the name and got, and that continued after the kind of free agency move where Eevee stepped in for Tarkington, who had to drop out, unfortunately. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
You made a comment kind of about how Tarkington dropped out. I don't think we really lost anything adding Eevee with regards to play skill and player ability. They ran a gauntlet their last, I think, 3 weeks of play in the league, or it might have been only 2, and took me to 3 games, I believe, and almost beat.
Eevee's going to be an interesting one, 100%. Like at a losers bracket as well.
Mm-hmm. So it's one to watch for sure.
Oh yeah. We'll move on to the placements predicted. Now these obviously are a little bit different because obviously I had Gyro in first, and I did like Eevee was actually ranked in places. But this is the order I had everyone. This is how it ended up looking, which is it's surprising, but then also not. Like
you were pretty much on for the most part.
Yeah, I got Seth correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Crimp would be around the top. Kid would be around you. Like Seth and you would be around the top. I think I was pretty damn on the money here with a lot of it.
Yeah, no, and I think like with Tarkington and Gyro in, I was like 6th overall of the 9 of us together as the 10. Seth has definitely been a big threat every season so far. I think top 3 every season. I knew what KD could bring to the table. I've known KD for a while now. Like Crimp just unfortunately this season, 6-3, I believe his losses are to me,
top
KD,
3,
and no, I think at the top 3. That's essentially Cooper Hawk.
Oh no, because he lost.
No,
to
he lost
Cooper,
to.
didn't.
Yeah, he beat Seth.
Yeah, so he beat one of you. Oh, he beat Seth. Yeah,
I believe.
No, he definitely lost to Seth. I'm certain of it.
Did he beat KD? I don't know, man. These weeks all roll together.
Look,
I was really happy with Cooper too.
And logically, it's Kid. It's you, Seth, and Cooper would be the 3 if you beat him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. He did beat KD. Cooper had me on the ropes. I believe I needed a pretty big crit that won me that match against him, and that was a rough one for me because Coop smoked me. I mean, he smoked me. It was Eevee that he had me on the ropes, and I double rock slide flinched.
Cooper. Let's talk about that. Of like those 6 wins, that includes a win over 1st place and 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of his losses are to 2nd and 3rd. That it's wild.
Yep, great season overall. That's what I mean. Our top 5, and frankly 6. Those 6 teams, I think, in any collective, could beat any of the other drafts. 6 or even 5. I think 3 gets a little dicey. It comes down to gameplay, and that's not taking anything away from this bottom half. I mean, Gengar has been top 3, top 4 here and there. Usually builds a very interesting team. I've played with Snowman before in another league that we did, and a very strong player. And the same with Lopez. I think, and the one that really surprises me, because I thought Lopez had a really good hyper offense team. What really surprised me about that is it just felt like he couldn't find the rhythm with that team. And you pointed that out to me earlier today. But all season, it was, in any conversations we had, it was he didn't really adapt to the fact that teams were going to bulk up on him and just slow him down and kind of whittle him down, where I think he had the tools to do so.
The way I see how KD at the end of the season, he even messaged me after one of his games, it's week 7 and I've finally just figured out how this team works, and he didn't lose after that. It was sweep season after it.
Yeah.
I don't think Lopez ever got it. I don't think he ever really found out okay, this is how this is supposed to work.
Yeah, I was fortunate to play KD week 1, and I just kind of put some work in, and it worked out for me there. I
know he was very upset about that week 1 loss.
I know. He doesn't like to lose to me. He and I have had, I think we played 3 draft sets so far, and the first 2 he beat me in 2 very, very, very good 3-game sets that were just some of the most wild plays and wild games I've played myself. So now he's a great player, and I'm excited to have him as a part of this group. I'm one of those people I always tell you, I think better players together collectively, make better players out of all of us. So to have another heavy hitter like this in these pods it just makes everyone better.
The amount of people next season, like Double E, which I think is a friend of Electric's.
Okay.
There's Oxfin, whoever that friend is. Grim said he wants to come back.
Oh,
Albion
nice.
will probably be back. Papa Tommy. NHA. Bro, NHA has been top 4 every single season he's played.
This is exciting, man.
Like, next... Oh, I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's exciting. No, it's going to be great. You want to move into those... to that most improved trophy for me?
Most improved, it's you.
I did the math. I had the biggest green arrow.
Yeah.
No,
How does it feel?
It feels good. I attribute my improvement as a player to I just went really hard into VGC this year and played a ton of doubles and played a ton of VGC, just getting in the rhythm of things. So I had a really good feel for Series 1's format, Series 1 stuff that worked well together. And my team composition, I basically played that team minus the Magnezone and the Annihilate through Series 1. Like, I ran Garchomp, Gardevoir, and all of that fun stuff. And I ran like a hybrid kind of Tailwind Trick Room team, which ironically, I didn't draft a very good Tailwind setter outside of Volcarona, which had better things to do.
Yeah. We'll move into the kills leaderboards, and I hope you don't mind if we just do 1 and 2 at the same time.
Why would I?
Because this is wildly impressive.
So
like we talked about
yeah.
Player Blitz's 40 combined on 2. This is a 41. Like that's one more. And like that was already stupidly impressive, and you've done better.
This is technically with one less week of play also.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
So Magnezone did its job very early in the season. I want to say it had
kills.
Yeah, I want to say it had like 17 kills by like week 4, and then just kind of
get this up because it'll be in my leaderboards. Week
and then just kind of
you say. Week 4, your Magnezone is on 15 kills.
Okay. And then it just kind of coasted the rest of the season as a threat that you had to prepare for, because I'm sorry, Disquake is still broken in draft.
Yeah.
The fact that I can take away that thing's 4 times weakness, it's one of the heaviest hitters on the special side. It has a great moveset, even though it only can do Flash Cannon and a Thunderbolt, because it gets Terra Blast and now get coverage wherever the heck you want. People need to respect Magnezone. I will say, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Magnezone lover, I do not think it's S tier, because kind of like Dragapult, in the sense you have to commit your Terra to it, or you run the risk of just getting nuked really hard, really fast.
It gets OHKO'd by Bulldoze. It's
yeah. Oh, Bulldoze from an Arcanine that I don't know how much Coop invested into it, did about 70% on a switch in, and still gives me nightmares.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember watching that switch in and going, oh, okay then.
And then Garchomp was the second half guy. I kind of switched modes and started to focus on the physical, using Magnezone as kind of his counterpoint, and then doing some stuff with Volcarona and similar. But yeah, those two, they're strong attackers as it is. And I knew no one was going to really respect Magnezone because it was kind of hot trash in Gen 8, and no one really, knew what you do with it in Gen 9. So I knew I was getting a steal when I took it, and I wanted to show everyone kind of what it could do. And I'm glad it almost won, but it did not.
Unfortunately. When did this thing show up? Because again, I
week
can
like
get the
6.
Leaderboard. Yeah, because week 6.
I think week 6.
6 Armrouge is in. Week 6 Armrouge is in 3rd on 12 kills, but week 7. Okay, yeah, week 7. This thing shows up with 18. Yeah.
Yeah, it ties me that week. I think is when we tie. And then
no, that week you are on 19, and then
okay, so I'm still 1 up.
Yeah, then week 8 you tie, and then week 9 he beats you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So In the span of 3 weeks, this guy went from in week 6, this thing had 12 kills.
Yeah, it's 14 kills over 3 weeks. I think he made a point to take the kill leaderboard and kind of stick it to me a little bit, which I'm fine with. I respect it, and frankly, I think Armor Rouge is an absolute beast. So, congrats to KD on taking that and really made it. It made the last 3 to 4 weeks really fun to kind of try and make Magnazone still win. But I'm like, I didn't want to force it because I want my win-loss record was more important because of the way the back half of that season kind of shaped up and where I stood in the standings. But I'll tell you, if I had no chance of winning it, I would have gone all in on Magnazone with kills.
Oh yeah, I bet. On to the team one. Third, someone who's not listed there but really should have been. It's the King's Gambit. That's Seth.
One of my favorite teams in our draft too. I know Hattering's one of those, which is exciting.
This one's the 15 on King Gambit, 13 on Hatterene, and 10 on Tauros.
So what's insane is I think Hatterene had 12 through like 3 weeks, if not 2 weeks. Like Hatterene went ham the first like 2 to 3 weeks, and then just played a different game afterwards.
Hat had 9 kills in 2 weeks, is what you're thinking of. Okay. Yeah, Hat got 0 kills in week 3, but Hat didn't come week 3 from my booking here. So.
No, yeah. Congrats to the King's Gambit on that one.
Into second is the Milwaukee Xerneas. It's the Armor Rouge and Friends. Also, can I just say that it's really funny to me that I put a picture of Xerneas into this thing and I got visibly happy. I cannot wait. I love this. I'm gonna be so happy.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those mons I hate to see on the other side of the field. So.
Oh man, I love it.
It's going to be an interesting format.
Marouge is 26. Rotomo has 9, and then Palafin has 5.
So Palafin being so low surprises me. Rotomo having 9 does not surprise me.
Yeah, obviously we saw Omega's Rotom Wash had 11, so we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah, and I think Mo is just very good overall, as well, especially in this format with draft with the Leaf Storm type move and the electric coverage that way. It's nice to be able to not have to Terra, kind of like Rotom Wash, and be able to hit that, that thing on the other end that can do some work to you.
Oh yeah. And then up in first, it's you.
Who's got the sit? Is that Volcarona?
You are. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm excited to see
you in the draft. Oh, there you are. Yeah, so your 24 is Magnazone, your 17 is Garchomp, and yes, your 6 is Volcarona.
I would just like to point out that Annihilate had less than 6 kills.
Yeah.
So, it's funny, because come draft, and I don't know if Seth even intended on drafting Annihilate, but Annihilate in our pod fell to the free rounds. And as we looked at Seth's team, I was absolutely terrified that if he got Annihilate on the way back, that we were all going to be in a lot of trouble. So I kind of counterpicked the Annihilate there, and it ended up being really good with my team. I just didn't focus on his attacker. It was more of a kind of setup, and it would pivot and kind of damage things, and then I would clean up with Magnazone or Garchomp on with it.
Yeah, I just realized I'm talking to the guy who had the Annihilate, because Annihilate was the only one which was in the running to have 100% drafting in A, B, and C, but then you didn't bring it.
I think I brought it
6
of 8. 2 weeks, and it was 1 week it was cut off for Frostlass against Seth, I believe, and the other week was recently where I didn't bring it and I brought Mabostiff.
Oh, right, yeah.
But let's just talk. Everyone needs to understand that Mabosstiff is just basically Arcanine Junior in draft.
Yeah.
So if you get into a draft
really
where you have
good.
that in low tiers, definitely consider it because it does everything Arcanine can do. Plus, it can run an AV. So you're very happy to have it. Trust me.
Yeah. Also, it being dark type, you know, one of your main weaknesses there is fighting, and then you've got Intimidate. Like,
You know, just run them both. He did
um,
have both. He did have the double. He had Arcanine and Arc 8 as I dubbed it.
yeah. I think this is the last slide. Is there anything on Draft C you want to comment on? Because obviously, I think there is a lot of, you know,
So
you guys, you started off with a terrifying pod, and then just unfortunate.
yeah, losing Gyro was tough at first. I was looking forward to finally having that match. He wasn't having a great season, but come to find out why, maybe that wasn't the case those first, 3-4 weeks before he dropped out with family things going on. Definitely was looking forward to him being there. I was looking forward to facing Tarkington too, and I joke because we're both Indiana guys, so I think he's kind of down in like central Indiana, southern Indiana type area. I've asked him before, and I just forget where he told me he stays. But I was looking forward to that match because I felt I had a good matchup into that team and was going to be able to show some stuff. Definitely tough to lose to it, both of them. But I understand life is way more important than the wonderful game we play, and I respect their decisions to go that route. I loved how competitive the top end of this draft was from week 1 through week 9. There was never a moment where you could just coast or you felt good. It was like week 7 through 9 was such a roller coaster because
there was the week where all 3 of you lost,
and we all lost 2-0. Like we all lost in resounding fashion. That was week 8 because it allowed KD to sneak up and make it a very interesting week 9. It was the same thing week 7. Week 7, I believe, was the week I played Crimp. Or was that week 6? Shoot.
I am fairly certain it was. Sorry, I am. My parents are in the pool, and my dog is sitting at the side, like sobbing his eyes out, wanting to get in. It's adorable to look at.
That's awesome. I just remember the week I played Crimp. I was in Orlando, and I woke up after being up till like 4 a.m. to play that match, and I was so happy that Terra Steel sub SD Chomp was the answer to everything he wanted to do, because I was so nervous about that match and prepping because I was so focused on Orlando. And then it was I pulled that off, and then Seth pulled off his 2-0 win, and it made the top 3 super close. KD's climbing up, and then here we go. Next week, we all have to 2-0 or we start to fall behind. Seth comes out with a quick 2-0 early on. I 2-0 someone, and then I think Crimp takes a loss, which puts us all together, and Crimp starts to fall a little. KD climbs again.
Yeah.
And the whole time, Coop is here just continuing to play draft killer.
KD beat Crimp.
Okay. KD lost to Crimp. It was me, Coop, and Seth that beat Crimp. I think that was the week that KD beat Cooper.
Oh, maybe.
But regardless, there was never a moment where you could just take a break. You had every week, no matter what it was, because even our bottom half, you had to prepare for them. They were all coming to kill us still. Like, I remember, like, the loss to Coop was tough because he gives me the breakdown that he figured out that Scarf Bulldoze Arcanine was the answer an hour before our match. And then he digs into me wonderfully and goes, "You were on top. I had to play hard, so I knew I was bringing something really good and I was going to get you." And
he did.
He did. So, no, yeah. What are your big takes from Draft C?
I think it's just the stuff I've already mentioned of, like, I think going into this, everyone was expecting, like, an absolute bloodbath of, you've got Seth. KD came in and, like, started bragging about how he's won the most money in high rollers ever, or something like that. And then you've got Gyro, and then, you've got Tarkington. Like, Like this team, and then like Cooper and Gengar aren't bad players at all. Like you've got 7 nightmare matchups to play. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it was a great pod to be a part of. I could easily have saw myself going 2-7 and being in Lopez's shoes this season. I was very fortunate myself to finish the top, and I think I'm still 0 for against Seth in matches where we take it serious. So I'm gonna work on that, and we'll see what happens. Maybe next season I'll get him if we're in the same pod, or maybe later on in the playoffs if he makes a big run in the loser side and gets back up to the top, because I don't plan on losing. But that'll probably happen now that I'm talking shit. But no, yeah, it was a great season. Again, just to reiterate, we appreciate everything you guys do. It was nice of Seth and Electric to really step up and help you out. I know you've got a very busy personal life yourself right now. But again, thank you for everything you do and running another great season. And then thank you to those two for stepping in and kind of co-running things with you to make sure everything moved smoothly amongst 3 different drafts, that have grown from, I think you said self-made 10 people essentially, to now we're at 3 pods of 10 and potentially more.
Yeah.
So kudos.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for playing. Thank you to everyone else for playing as well. We'll move on, because I think with edited, we're going to be just under the hour point now, which is a bit longer we wanted to spend, but so be it.
Yeah, it's okay. And this part's a big part. So, I mean, I don't think these weekly recaps with the playoffs run as long, but I'm having a great time. So, yeah, people enjoy these. They want to fast forward through some stuff or just watch their part of the draft portion that's discussed in the finale portion. They can. So
we'll get on to the weekly recap, but in brackets, but I can't use macros, Good fun.
It's okay.
So what happened last week? So this is what happened last week, and in red is every, seasonal upset.
Yeah.
So Confused beats Jordan. All these are 2-1, by the way, with an exception of Lily.
Yes.
Confused beats Jordan, Cooper beats Kale, Katie beats Mike, and you beat Flareblitz. They're all more or less expected. Brink beats Splatty 2-0.
Yeah. It was awesome.
The Pikachu beating El Dentista, just from working with Pikachu, that was always going to happen. I just on team matchups, it was
well,
very favorable.
And I can tell you, El Dentista was he was not happy to have that matchup because he knew it was a tough one.
Yeah. ZX lost 2-0 again. That's insane.
I think.
And then obviously we have to talk about Lily beats
That's the big
Seth.
one. That's the big one.
See,
going with ZX first.
With Lily.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
Yeah.
go ahead. Let's go this one first because you've got. I know you have a very good point to make here.
I team built with Lily, and I agree with you. Originally, in conversation, I'll put screenshots in this recording. We didn't know what to do, and I said look, realistically, I think you put Terra Fairy on something which is already a nightmare, and we ended up on that being Mudsdale, and the rest of it she did, right? And then she's like, hey, can we play some practice games later tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I didn't win a single one. These weren't flukes. And Seth said, oh, I should have gone with Hard Trick Room. I tried that. I tried Hard Trick Room. I tried the Tailwind. I tried building a hybrid team. And nothing I did beat this team which she came up with. I don't know how she did it, but it's almost like meaning to pull a carrot out of a hat, and instead you pull out a block of gold or something. It was incredible.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak for Seth on this one because I know he was definitely he had a very strong 6 going into Lily. I didn't know how Lily was going to beat him. I really didn't. It was wild to me that happened, and when he let us know in chat, we were all like, whoa. But Terra Fairy Mudsdale was an absolute menace and machine. And I think to his point, and I again, not speaking for him, but with him saying he'd go Hard Trick Room, I think in his mind and his mindset is the way he was playing his trick routines, he would have an answer and a way to beat that Mudsdale, even if it going Terra Fairy, because I think he would have had the ability and would have built his King Gambit a little differently to where it would have had that steel move that would have probably dealt with it.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't change the fact that I stand by the
Didn't have-
fact that Mudsdale is a freaking monster. And if you have a Trick Room mode and you get Mudsdale, you should be very happy across the board. It has 3 relevant abilities. It has great coverage. And it is only got to have a couple relevant things that are faster than it that are going to do work into it with regards to being under Trick Room mode. I'm a big fan of Mudsdale. I'm happy to see it got its play this week in the winner's side and pulled a big upset up. I didn't see the ZX and Drops match, unfortunately. So
Yeah, there's no recording of it.
So I would need to.
I believe we may be having a short interview. Oh, there we are.
No, that was. I just stopped talking because my mother was yelling from upstairs to my daughter to chill out. So I'm not sure what happened here. I know Drops was bummed to take the L. I'm hoping it was just a Baxcalibur slapping because Baxcalibur is one of the few mons that is just really good into Drops team.
Wasn't it something to do with Sarah Ledge?
I honestly do not know.
I'm gonna get messages up. I'm fairly certain this was a Sarah Ledge issue. Where's my messages with Drops? There they are. No. Oh, yep. Yeah, it's Sarah Ledge. He said I couldn't hit Terra Grass bulk up Sarah Ledge. That was the problem. Like,
okay.
If it wasn't Terra Grass or if it wasn't bulk up, I was fine. But the combination of
Gotcha.
both is the issue.
I like that Electric points out that it's just fake because we have our little 6-person mutiny pod and she built an entire breakdown of how we
how you all end up playing each other. I've seen,
and I think
it
the best
requires Lily to go to like semi-finals.
I was gonna say, and I think the best part about that is that Lily gets to make the deep kind of Cinderella run into winner's bracket with it all happening.
Yeah.
So you know what? If it works out that way, Electric is a genie, and she probably lives outside the Matrix. And frankly, I think it'd be great to see Lily make that deep of a run and just keep smacking people who had great seasons. And
she against you.
Yeah, so even if she beats me, look, I'm not one of those people I don't get upset about that stuff personally. I love this game and it's fun to me. If I lose to Lily, it'll be a congratulations. If I lose next week, I might lose to Kikachu here. I might not even have a chance to make that happen because Kikachu's no slouch themselves. There is no easy win.
You're playing Pikachu this week. I thought you were playing Lily this week.
Not yet.
Next week.
I think.
I can go check who's playing Lily next week.
I believe it's ZX.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's ZX.
So yeah, no, I'm excited, man. This was a fun week. It was great to see 4 upsets. It just goes to show how much parity there is in this draft and that anyone can win any given week.
Yeah.
Definitely excited to see what happens here. It's crazy to think that 2 top 3 people got knocked out in the first 3 top 3. The entire let's put it in perspective. Draft B's entire top 3 lost.
Yeah. There you are. That's terrifying.
So,
right.
There you go.
We'll move on here. What happened last week? I probably should have had a slide in between this, but this is
perfect.
Your last week's one of Katie versus Mike.
This was
Katie won 2-0.
This was the 40-minute 2-0.
Yep.
Oh my god.
This was the both games. Mike says, "Should I go timer?" I have in my notes of. I feel like they both tried to slow play, but when you slow play, you need to know when to hit the button. And Katie hit the button perfectly both games, and Mike did not.
Mike didn't bring Palafin either, did he?
No, and I even said in the live stream chat, you guys said that Mike's Palafin was great and Katie's Palafin was kind of dog water. And then Katie bought his Palafin and put 5 kills on it.
Yeah, he said here, hold my beer.
Yeah, and Mike just didn't bring his at all.
Knowing KD and how he likes to live his life, if he watched the stream and saw it, he made Palafin do that to prove a point.
Oh, probably. My thing was, do you know what Flower Veil as an ability does? 'Cause I didn't until
Not off the
watching
top
this
of my
match.
head.
If you or your allies are a grass type, you are immune from all secondary effects, status drops, and status conditions.
Well, that's pretty good.
So KD ran, instead of running Disquake, he ran Terra Grass on Florges, put Florges next to it, and neither of them could be paralyzed, put to sleep, burnt. They were immune to all flinching effects, and
That's pretty good.
they were immune to all snarl drops. And I remember watching and confused, even messaging me, going, Mike just used Snarl and neither of their special attacks just dropped, and we'd already seen that Florge, we're not talking about a clear amulet thing and all that. What's going on? And I had to go do research to figure out what KD had figured out, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Any
again,
other comments on this one?
I really thought that this was a great match for being a 2-0 win. I watched it again tonight and went back and checked it out. I think Mike played extremely well. Goes into the match knowing full well he's got to play around the Palafin because the Palafin's going to have the haze that he's got to make the move to get it and kill it. I think he could have leaned a little harder into Magnezone maybe and gotten a little more out of it in that regard. But with that said, I think KD he's figured out the mode that's going to win. I think it's pretty obvious the 6 he's going to bring most weeks. 5 of those are pretty much gimmies, and then I think that 6th one can kind of fluctuate between whether he wants to have a fast mode or more firepower from a Crocodile. But no, this was a great match despite the 2-0. I think it doesn't speak that record does not speak to how great of a match this was and the mind games and pivots that were done by both guys. So kudos to both.
The second match you guys looked at last week was Cooper versus Kale. Kale wins this one 2-0. Cooper
won 2-0.
Oh, Cooper wins 2-0.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. I remember now. Because I was looking at Kale's team. I'm like, how did he? Yeah, no. This was the Bishop special. Is what this was.
And
he went.
It was definitely rated. Yeah. Go ahead.
C tier is it?
It is C tier, I believe.
Yeah, that needs to change.
Yeah, depending on.
Ace.
I mean, absolutely. It's definitely better as a Defiant Eviolite user than we gave it credit for. I think the big thing for me this week and the takeaway I had watching this match was I didn't feel like Kale brought a lot of offense, and I think that's what ultimately cost him.
Yeah. You say that, but then Clodsire was his second highest kill mon. The thing has base 50 attack.
But did you see the Clodsire set this week? It was Toxic Protect, Terra Blast, and maybe Stomping Tantrum.
I don't think it was Stomping Tantrum.
No, I don't think it was either.
I'm fairly certain it was
Recover,
Protect, Terra Blast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I get it's the kill leader, and it's very good. And ironically, Toxic Stall actually would have worked on the Bisharp one match where he was able to because it went away from Steel. But I did find it interesting that Clodsire this week was kind of Toxic Stall, when in reality I felt like Clodsire in general could have just been a pretty solid, bulky attacker.
Yeah.
Coop brought a menace of a team again. I'm sorry. This team is extremely good. I've said it all season. Every time we talk about him, I say it. The Firegrass Water Core is unbelievable, and it was a great job by Coop to kind of put this together and pull out a big W. The one thing that really stood out to me was, I remember correctly, I think Breloom played really well this week. It was.
Oh yeah.
Was it scarfed? Was it Scarf Spore and
I don't
Because
think
I thought I was able to get the spore off onto the Dragapult before Dragapult attacked.
Yeah, it was Scarf Spore. Because it went before Dragapult, and that was the thing, and then he
that's
put
wild
both of
to
them
me.
to sleep, and
That's ballsy.
then Kale was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to leave it here.
So yeah, absolutely, it was definitely one of those things where I think Breloom finally, not seeing a ton of Coop's matches this season, showed what it can do and what its strengths are. But Spore is really good. So yeah, congrats to Coop on a big win. Looking forward to find out what happens with Kale in his match this week. Sounds like we may have already had all of them completed.
Yeah, I, on the left of my screen, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I got 8 messages, so that would imply 4 of 6 matches are done.
That's awesome. So I'm glad to hear it. I'm looking forward. I did see one that we're going to talk about later, and I'll let you kind of talk about, and I will reserve my comments for. But do you have any?
Not quite done yet over here, unfortunately. Before we get into that, we have to talk about Elden Tista and Kigachu still, because this was Elden Tista's little special that he broke down for us.
Yeah,
Kigachu won.
Yep.
Yeah, Salamence sometimes just has such a brilliant matchup, and I think this was one of the.
This is one of those times. That and the fact that Kigachu made the best free agency move. I don't care if it wasn't the best collective free agency. It was the best free agency move in going and getting the Tatsuguri, I believe.
Tatsu, yeah.
Because all it did was force everyone in that pod and anyone who faces him to have to be prepared for it and have to bring something to deal with it. And if you don't, or you don't have a way to, you're in trouble. With that said, El Dentista has arguably the best way to deal with a Dondozo Tatsuguri matchup in Murkrow. In my opinion, it's the best.
Yeah, he's got Haze and he's got Perish.
So, with that said, I still don't know how El Dentista had a chance in this matchup because he had no way to deal with Salamence. And that was very clear.
I know that in practice we were looking at, similar to what me and Lily were looking at, well, what has the Terra Fairy? We were looking, all right, okay, what has Terra Ice, Terra Blast? What's gonna do it, right? And then the answer was nothing. Everything had Steel. It was 6 Terra Steel mons.
So, yeah, I think this is one of those ones where, unfortunately, El Dentista has had a very tough matchup. I don't remember regular season if Kigachu was one of his losses.
He wasn't.
So, it's a tough one to deal with. The fact that Lycanroc is still a thing and is pretty good into a lot of what El Dentista has and wants to do outside of Annihilate, which is dealt with by stuff like Gardevoir and Salamence and Weavile and so yeah, it was a tough matchup overall, and Kigachu just kind of put the clinic on with it, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. There was the damage roll, which we should mention, of the +2 Shadow Ball from Poltegeist didn't kill Salamence, but it was a roll to do it.
Okay.
But apart from that, there was no RNG involved. But if that takes place, then El Dentista wins game 1, and Kigachu doesn't particularly love. He doesn't lose. He doesn't love losing game 1 because then he feels he's on the back foot. And El Dentista is the opposite. He wins game 1. He gets confidence behind him. If that boy's confident, he goes.
Well, it lets him do something funky too. Game 2, he doesn't have to play maybe his best matchup into. He can do one of his funky plays where he leads kind of odd or does an odd move, and it catches Kigachu off guard. So yeah, I get your point on that for sure. That's definitely that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into this week now. Oh, we won't.
We're liars. We got a set of the week.
We're liars. It's set of the week. It's Brink's Palisand, and so I have actually put the mouse hold here because I asked Brink to give some insight, and he said that it was while Palisand was the submission, it was mouse hold strictly enabled it. It couldn't have done what it did without the mouse hold. And so it's Absorb Bulb, Terra Ice, Water Compaction Palisand with Chilling Water Mouse Hold. Mouth Soul also has Beat Up to charge the Rage Fist. It's got Follow Me, it's got Friend Guard, it's got Encore because Brink made a call that Splatty likes to play really slow. Which I don't think that's accurate, but apparently it worked out.
I will say I think Splatty is very good at playing setup. Maybe not slow, but he does spend turns where he will take advantage of his opponent and making very good calls into them switching out or over predicting a protect where he likes to play setup and will do some more setup options or more passive options versus attacking directly in, and that's probably what Brink was thinking.
Mm-hmm. And like it shows, right? Like he won 2-0.
Yeah, very good job. That Palisand's wild. I thought Palisand might come to a different match this past week. It did not. So I'm happy to see the Sandcastle coming out and showing people what it can do this week. And really cool set. Congrats again on the 2-0 win, and that's Brink's Palisand.
Yeah. If you are referring to Kiguchi, by the way, I would like you to know that the team he bought was version 4, and versions 1, 2, and 3 all had Palisand.
Interesting.
We will now there we go. We'll now move on to this week. What's happening this week? Drops versus Electric, 6-17. Elegantista Snowman. Flareblitz Shy Guy is in red there because it's actually a rematch in DB.
Okay.
And it's just I went and looked in it. I also messaged Flareblitz. Flareblitz won 2-0, and apparently they were both. It was like a 4-0 win and then like a 4-1 win.
Okay.
Like he stomped him last time, so it'll be interesting to see. Mike and Evie, Kale and Gengar, and then Jordan and Loafers.
There is 3 really interesting matchups here.
Oh yeah.
We're going to cover 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't get upset. The one we are not going to cover is Mike and Evie, which I think you and I both agree might be one of the... Super interesting, but also crazy to think that that's our 12 and 18 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just based on their skill sets and what we've seen those teams do all season. So that's one I'm keeping a close eye on when it happens.
I think it's also the reason we're not covering it is we covered Mike last week, and I think we'll get sick and tired of Mike's probably going to have an interesting match every week.
That's very valid. So why don't we jump into the first one we're going to cover?
First one, Drops and Electric.
This is a good one.
It's the obvious pick. Yeah, this is one you're going to talk about mostly because I need to talk about the other one.
Yeah, no problem. This is a good one. So this is 2 of the wonderful Mutiny Pod groups. 6 participants. It continues to fill the electric fate of playing all of us and beating all of us and then winning the entire thing, which would be one of the greatest stories we could tell in draft history. But 2 would just be awesome for Electric after her season and some of the frustrating weeks with RNG being really, really brutal this week. Looking at this matchup, I've been kind of hands-on with it a little the last 24 hours and kind of helping Electric prepare and look at the matchup in general. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on either side, only from a big analysis side. I will say, in my analysis, the bottom half of the speed tiers on both these teams are where I think we're going to see a lot of the heavy play this week. I think those are where things need to happen, whether it's the Arbolivas and Slowbro kind of combo, because the grassy terrain stuff, if Drops wants to go that route, gets to counter the Armor Rouge and DD expanding force. Psychic terrain stuff, Mudsdale can be very strong this week, generally speaking, which ironically, Garchomp is extremely strong this week overall into Electric's team. It's ironic the 2 ground Pokemon are both very strong into each other's teams. I don't believe in voting for Palmot, so I refuse to vote for Palmot, even if it's a better team. But in my opinion, based on what I have seen in kind of testing and discussion and prep I'm going to go with Electric this week, and I would have gone with her this week even if Palmot wasn't on the team.
And for people watching live, this will show up in post-production. I can't put it in here. My take on it, I look at it strictly in two fashions. Obviously, Drops' main weakness here is ground. I would suggest to Electric that the other female in the league has just given you a very good blueprint on how to beat somebody who's better than you in every way. You take the Mudsdale, you give it a defensive typing, you use it well. I think you could be looking at something here. Other than that, though, I look at type matchups. There's nothing that really screams to me. I look at like speed matchups, and like you said, there'll be some issues around there'll be some play around that bottom half. But I think this is going to come down, honestly, to player skill. And you have this theory, I think, that Electrics had crazy bad RNG, but from my understanding, it's just confused that it had bad RNG against. And so if we're talking about if this is going to come down to just player skill, I think Drops is taking this.
Okay. That's fake. I am all for banter and competition, man. I can't wait for this match. I can't wait for them to play. I think it's gonna be a very fun match to watch and see the video when it pops up.
Oh yeah. We'll move on to the other one, which is match number 9. It's Jordan and Lofus. The fact that these two teams are 16 and 22 seed, insane. I know that you have seen this one already, and so I
can talk about it still I'm gonna talk about it still for the clout without talking about it. Don't worry.
I haven't seen it. My understanding of this, and I'm gonna just put my pick straight out here. Lofus by any method he wants. If I watch this back and Lofus has lost, I'm gonna be stunned. You look at Jordan's team, and when I use the word crippling, I mean crippling. There's a crippling weakness to Dragapult there. There's a crippling weakness to Colossal. The thing which sets Colossal up in Azumarill's Fairy Stab is absurdly good this week. What else was there? There was something else which I saw. I forget what the last one was, but then you say, okay, we'll bring Dragapult. Oh, it was Kilowattrel was the other one I was looking at. You bring Kilowattrel, you make it competitive. Suddenly you can't be spammed with Icy Winds, which would be a very solid way of getting through Lofus's team. So Lofus brings Dragapult, Kilowattrel, Azumarill, Colossal, and then he brings 2 of Medicham, he brings Klefki, Meowscarada, Low-Kicks, maybe even Zorua could come in here just for the fun of it. And there's so much.
You know what else doesn't like competitive? Tauros.
What? Oh yeah, jeez.
You know what kills Tauros? Kilowattrel.
Flying. Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you. Lofus's team should win no matter what here.
This is the best matchup Lofus is ever gonna have in terms of teams. If he's lost
what I like about Jordan's team, and what I think it can do well is, he's got the answers for Dragapult, but he has to be aggressive with them. Stuff like Weavile, stuff like Frostlass, they will nuke that Dragapult if it doesn't defensively Terra. Even Spiritomb, I believe, can OHKO a Dragapult with Stab Dark moves if it doesn't have a ton of investment. So I think it's got 100 base.
Yeah, we saw an offensive Spiritomb in the Drops match.
And then couple the fact with that Abomasnow is there. It's got Aurora Veil. It can slow down the offensive attacks of things. Again, we've talked about this with Lofus. If Lofus goes hardcore into heavy offense, doesn't try to set up and get some attack power, a well-positioned Aurora Veil, even on turn 1, changes the whole game for Lofus and forces them to have to maybe have 2 attacks to kill something that he needs the 1 attack to do. this isn't as easy as a matchup for Lofus as it looks like on paper when you start to think about Jordan's defensive capabilities, despite the fact that, yeah, a choice band Dragapult probably OHKOs everything on this team.
Yeah. You want to talk about defensive issues as well. Like, I'm looking, like, on Lofus's side of things, like, what's he weak to?
Goldango.
Being weak, Goldango Terra Fairy, just as an example. And if that's shown up, then it shows that I'm a genius, right?
Yeah.
But Goldango Terra Fairy, how do you deal with it on Lofus's team?
It's a tough one. It's not something easy to prepare for, and you know,
like
I guess you
can give it like heavy slam, and but then
yeah.
like,
So
if Goldengo doesn't Terra, you're clicking heavy slam into Goldengo.
right. So you have answers potentially, but they're not great ones. And that when I looked at this match after we talked about it before I saw anything, Goldango to me was the thing that I felt Jordan would need to lead into to have a chance on this. Behind a lot of defensive kind of plays, take advantage of the fact that he's got that fake out and the faster fake out. Take advantage of the fact that like a Scarf Frostlass with speed control stuff can really change the tempo of stuff. You know, cycle that Tauros and then set your Goldango up in a way to where maybe you can get a aggressive nasty plot off if you bring a Moongus or similar. And then just a couple make it rains, and I think this is over for Lofus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, this is a great one. I know the results, so I'm not gonna pick.
Your pick is abstained. Yeah.
Yep, I'm not gonna pick, but I'm curious as to. It sounds like I already know your pick, so.
Oh yeah, I said it was Lofus.
Okay, Lofus. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know your thoughts on this one after you watch it, because.
Of course.
I will say, and I have not seen any of the other matches yet, I'm going to go on record saying I think this will be the best match of the entire week.
Oh, wow. Okay. I hope so.
And if it isn't, that means there is another banger that comes through, because this is a ridiculously great match, in my opinion.
Guys, that is it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you taking the time tonight. I know you had work and were busy, but you made the effort to come on and make this happen. I'm glad we were able to get the kind of finale recap in and kind of do a two-parter. Hopefully that's helpful, and you kind of like having the ability to not have to put all the work into, you know, the award show this season and similar, and you'll just be able to provide kind of your secret behind-the-scenes input, and we'll bring it to the table. And honestly, if we can make it happen, maybe the three of us plus you jump on for that one. We have 4 people kind of going through. But no, I had a blast tonight, and thank you again for coming out.
Yeah, thank you again. I always end these videos with a little bit of a thank you to everyone, and I look down the camera and I get all cute. Thank you again to everyone who has played. Kid touched on it before, and I touch on it every time. This is, what, the 5th time I'm saying this? I graduated high school and watched Wolfie's videos on his VGC thing and went, huh, that would be fun. And then went from a 9-player interest thing, and then I messaged Gyro because I'd played him elsewhere, to now there's 30 of us playing, there's 14 spectators, like half of them at least have already messaged me saying they want to get in and all that sort of stuff. And especially with this season, like, this is a special thank you to, I hope that Seth is still here, you and Seth, of, like, there was no reasoning of, like, you guys turning this into, like, a whole TV show and having, like, the amount of support you guys put into this, but you did it because you wanted to, and
Yeah.
I love that something has been created, that people are so passionate about it now.
I was inspired by another league I'm a part of with a couple of the players in this league, that they do one with the kind of the GM of it all, the guy who runs it all, and then one of our, I like to joke, he's probably our biggest personality when it comes to anything, and they do it together, and I thought it was a great thing. I thought it was a great way to keep everyone engaged, and with how big this has gotten, I brought it to Seth's attention and the rest of the group, and he was all about it and wanted to do it as well. we started out with taking the approach, let's get a special guest on each week, keep people going. We got, we joked, we got all the dads in for the most part. We got Mike, we got, El Dentista. We wanted to showcase, the people a part of this league that have been here for a long time, and just let them know that, we're all paying attention to what they're doing. We appreciate, people jumping on live. We appreciate the videos. I appreciate the goofy thumbnails, and the thumbnail wars this year were awesome. I think there were some great ones. There may be an award related to best thumbnail of the season.
Oh, I better be nominated at least.
So no, it was one of those things that I didn't have a lot of expectations for. I really wanted to do it. I was going to do it by myself if I didn't have anyone jump on, and fortunately Seth was all about it, and he is a master of the PowerPoint and kind of his computer skill set. And then I can't say this enough, and no offense to anyone else who's been on this show, the week that we brought El Dentista on was consensus, I think, the best week we had on a show, and what he brings to the table with the banter and the additional questions and kind of helping the flow of everything. It's really turned into this great collective, and we plan on doing it going forward every season we have, as long as life doesn't get in the way and we can make it happen. The three of us are going to plan on doing this on a weekly basis.
Oh, definitely. And I love to hear it. I'm just saying now, if I do not win best video for putting on an oversized suit and playing techno funk music while I got triple paralyzed, I will riot.
Well, we'll have to take that into consideration for sure. Because and honestly, if it wasn't playoffs, drunk stream might be close.
Drunk stream might be close.
Electric makes a great point. You won't win because that's Disco Stew's video.
Alright, that's fair. Yeah.
No, that was one of my favorite videos, if not my favorite video. I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone, but it's on the short list of nominees. So, no, again, appreciate everything, man. Appreciate you coming out tonight, and appreciate everyone who stuck with us for the hour and 40-minute session and a little bit of the fun funk in the beginning. It wouldn't be a weekly recap if we didn't have a little technical difficulties.
Massive technical issue.
Yes, sir. Thanks again, everyone, for coming out. Thank you again, Tetris. Any last words for the group?
Good luck, have fun, don't lose.
All right. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Appreciate it, and we will see you next